All right, with that, Superintendent Spotlight.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, I'd like to introduce Joe Burgess, the principal from Swift Creek Middle School. And as he's coming forward, I'd like to recognize Joe for his leadership. We talk a lot as a school board about how important relationships are as we try to build them, not only in our schools, but throughout our community. And Joe Burgess is an example of that as he's building relationships every day at Swift Creek Middle School. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent and the school board. It's our pleasure to present just some of the highlights of Swift Creek Middle School. I have some of my wonderful staff that's here to present some topics for you, and I know to keep it brief, and I promise they will do that. But also, I wanted to recognize my administrative staff. They wanted to come out here to support tonight. Assistant principals, Ben Koenig.
Please stand up and be duly embarrassed.
Kim Eddington. We'll recognize a spouse as well, Vicki Lightfoot. And she is the wife of our Dean of Students, Jeff Lightfoot. And if you notice, we're wearing pink in recognition of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So
Praise the Lord.
absolutely. So at this time, I'm going to do what good leaders do, and I'm going to step out of the way.
Good evening. My name is Grace Bigelow. I'm a social studies teacher at Swift Creek Middle School, and we are going to talk to you about a few programs that we've put in at Swift Creek Middle School to help some of our struggling learners, our level 1 and level 2 students. The first one being our tutoring program. It is offered free to students. It is in the morning and it is in the evening. They can either come in at 8 to 9 or from 4 to 5 in the evening. And basically, we've targeted our level 2 readers and math students. The teachers are the ones that run these after-school or before-school sessions. They're certified teachers. We use the math teachers or the language arts teachers or reading and the content area teachers. They have an assistant, and then we have a program director for the program. It's every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and starts in October, and we go all the way until FCAT. We use many different curriculums from Reading Plus to FCAT Explorer, but the best one that we use is direct teacher instruction in small groups. We find that a lot of students like to sit down with a teacher one-on-one and go over some of the problems in math, and we give them snacks, and they really like the snacks. And they will spread the word that we give snacks, so more and more people come this year than last year because of snacks.
Healthy snacks, right?
We had 68 students last year qualify, and 34 attended, so that was about a 54%. This year, we have 68% of our students for reading, and we have 64% of our students this year for math, and last year we only had 52%. We have had other parents ask if they could send their children, and we've allowed that for those right on the cusp of like level 3 or level 1. But the tutoring results is the biggest thing for yearly adequate progress. Last year in reading, we had 64% make that gain. And in 2010, 64%. Last year, 76% made that yearly adequate progress. And in math, it was 68% and then 71%. So they do like the tutoring, and we're going to try to continue it. Our listserv.
Good evening.
Evening.
Swift Creek's Listserv has been revamped to make it easily accessible and parent-friendly. Originally, every parent signed up for Listserv notifications would receive an email that looked similar to this. As you can see, the email itself is very cumbersome. There's a lot of wording in it, and not to mention the number of attachments that were located at the top. We're talking anywhere from 5 to 10 attachments per email. Parents would then have to scroll down through the numerous PDF attachments to find the files that pertain to their student or whatever activity or club they were looking to get information on. Not only was this time-consuming, but it was also a rather tedious task. Well, fortunately, Listserv has been revamped. There are many new perks to the new Listserv format. As you can see, this email is less cumbersome. There is only one link, so parents can't get lost. You click on that one link and you have direct access to all of the information that you need.
Smart.
All you have to do is scroll down. Can I get you to click on the hyperlink there? Or do we have someone to click on the hyperlink? Yes. and it actually opens up the entire document. So you're looking at whatever you need to find will become easily accessible and identifiable in one place. This also gives you the ability, or the parent the ability, to search for a specific item. If they want to look for just yearbook information, you can type in yearbook and it'll give you all of the yearbook details. Pictures are also shared with our parents through this format. The listserv, the new listserv, is also available on our school's website. So what does this mean for parents? Essentially, parents are less likely to get lost in a sea of information, which is easy to do in middle school. For the parents. Overall, the new listserv makes the lives of parents less complicated. And that was our goal. We wanted to make it easily identifiable. Now I will turn it over to my dear colleague, Ms. Quinlivan, who's going to talk to you about our approach to RTI. Thank you.
And before you sit down, tell us what your name is and what you do.
I'm Mrs. Robinson, and I teach language arts at Swift Creek Middle School, and I'm also a tutor.
Yay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Swift Creek's response to intervention program is incredibly easy, teacher accessible, and very teacher friendly. At the beginning of the year, every teacher receives an RTI notebook. This notebook comes equipped with several tabs that detail student information and data. Some of the tabs I find myself using most frequently as a language arts teacher are the ESE and FAIR tabs. Those tabs give me information about student accommodations, reading levels, and more. I also like to use the FAIR tab to document my students' progress on the FAIR assessment. This binder allows me to feel like every one of my students has an individual education plan. The biggest benefit of this system is the easy RTI documentation. If any of our students drop to an F, or any of our level 2 students drop to a D by the time the first progress report rolls around, I'll document this on my RTI checklist. It is at this point that I will begin implementing interventions to help the student succeed. If the student does not succeed after 5 interventions that I've provided, one of which being a parent-teacher conference, then that student's name will be referred to the intervention assistance team. As you can see, Swift Creek has provided us with 30 interventions to use in our classroom, as well as any interventions that we decide to use on our own. It's a great way to monitor our students, and I've documented every single student that I have in my classroom. I have their reading levels, accommodations, and more. And I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Burgess. Thank you.
And before you do that, who's your assistant?
This is Candace Cohn. She's one of our new guidance counselors.
All right. Good job.
Do you have any questions?
Well,
Questions?
yes, I do have
Ms.
one,
Bowen.
and thank you. And you probably mentioned it, and I just didn't catch it. What do you use to identify? First of all, your report is wonderful. You're doing an excellent job. Thank you very much. And I particularly appreciate parents not getting lost now in the maze of information. I think that was smart to catch that and to do that, okay? But I'm not sure that I heard what interventions are provided, say, mid 6 weeks prior to a child receiving a failing grade. What happens there? Are you able to catch them at that point?
Absolutely. And actually, an intervention can be given from the first day.
Okay.
We have, and it was mentioned, we have up to 30 interventions. So these are strategies that we give to the teachers beforehand. And so if it's a level 1 or level 2 student, once they drop below a C, we want to target them earlier because they have been struggling students. And so we began working on strategies. And one of those strategies we also ask is that they meet with all the other child's teachers. That's so that we don't have a personality conflict. Okay, we know most of you guys have been in the classroom. You know what I'm talking about. So
I think we
That's the
understand.
relationship.
that's a relationship. Absolutely. So getting through that, then if that can't be met, then they look at other strategies, and eventually they'll go to our team, our RTI team.
Okay.
And they will really sit down. We'll bring in some of our specialists and some of our administrators and see if we can find a plan that's going to help this particular child. If they're a level 3 or and above, it's after they go below a D. Then we do intervention strategies on them. And now in the meantime, as a parent, you send emails and you stay on Parent Portal and, you look for other strategies, say, maybe a seat change or those kind of things can be put in place.
Thank you, Joe.
Absolutely.
Mr. Van Camp.
Great job. I love your professionalism and your enthusiasm. I hope our future teachers here realize that they've seen some of Leon County's best. You can tell the way they talk, the way they act, and you can feel the spirit of that they're really enjoying the classroom. Question I have, though, and this may be a little off track a little bit, but for those kids that are maybe in 8th grade taking a class for high school credit, yet maybe they're not quite ready for that. Do you have a tracking system to see if they're really if they should stay in an Algebra 1 after the first 9 weeks, or what are we doing
Okay,
for
so-
those kids that may,
Particularly for algebra class?
or those that are going to be a course credit classes that would transfer up, in the 9th grade?
Well, the first part of it would be the year before is the screening process. You have to look at that part first, which is we have some tests that we give the students to see, do you have the aptitude to be in there in the first place? The second thing is that the teachers sit down and we really try to make sure we place. I mean, sometimes you can say that maybe a student's close. At that point, those teachers in the high school credit class have the same objectives as any other teacher on campus, which is to put in some strategies to help that student. If we put you in there, we felt like you can do it. So sometimes that means that you have to come early, you have to stay late, you may have to put in some more time. Sometimes parents will say, I'll get a tutor, or sometimes we maybe even put you in tutor. I mean, whatever you need. So it's just that the teachers will find ways to reach them.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Just a follow-up, Mr. Chairman. But before they get a low grade that's about to go into their transcript, you have a provision that you can.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We do protect the
Escape valve,
students.
okay.
Yes. Now, we do strongly stress that make sure that you're ready because, your high school transcript begins at that point. So we do strongly stress
You
to
can
be
tell
ready.
that Mr. Van Camp and I have middle school
Oh,
children.
yes.
Ms. Lewis-Weller.
Very good job. I like the way you delegate as a leader. Very good.
Absolutely. Well, they're great. I mean, I'm spoiled. I have a fantastic staff, and it's a joy to work with them every day.
Right. On the tutoring program,
Yes, ma'am.
I know they're in the tutoring. Do you have a time limit? Like do you have to come to tutoring the whole time, or do you meet the need of the skill and then you're exit from tutoring?
All right. If you're in tutoring, you're going to stay there, first of all. And we're pretty rough on them. I mean, as far as they can only miss 3 times. You're making a commitment because it's no cost to you.
Okay. Right.
The teachers, you're not paying for them. The food, that's from us. It's donated or we're paying for it. So all we want you to do is show up and give your best.
Okay. So 3 apps in the out of the program.
Yes, well, now we do, once again, just like during school, that we work with strategy to try to get them back in there.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Superintendent, any final comments?
Again, Mr. Burgess, I appreciate the job you're doing at Swift Creek. This is one of the highest performing middle schools, not only in Leon County, but in the state of Florida. Keep up the good work. Got some great teachers, great staff. Good
Appreciate
job.
it. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say, Joe, to you and your staff, and as importantly, we always talk about teachable moments, and we've got some FSU education students in here.
do.
And to those of you that are in the room, a couple of thoughts popped in my mind as I looked out into the audience to you. One is, Superintendent talked about relationships, and some people think that we have the sole right to educate people in our community. And we don't. We're just like any other business. We have to treat our customers, that's our kids, our parents. For Joe, it's his teachers, it's everybody that is in his school community. So building relationships and solving problems. The reason he's been promoted, I know, is because he's a problem solver. That's why many reasons why he became a principal and a good principal. And then if you look at the staff, my colleagues up here just said, you can look at these teachers here and you can I wish everybody at home could see the smiles that I'm seeing on their face and how excited they are. They're standing behind Joe, shaking their head, and
Absolutely.
they're excited about teaching. And so we up here are very humbled to work with people like you. Obviously my 2 daughters are Swift Creekers.
Yes, sir.
It's got a
Go Wolves.
place near and dear to my heart. So, anyways, I just wanted to thank you teachers and especially what you're doing here. I mean, that's just critical to keep kids in school, and you're making a big difference, and we thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I do want to prolong this. I started to say I don't, but when it's good, it's just good, and this is good.
Preach it.
Thank you. For the education majors that are seated here with us tonight, there are some of us who remember a few years ago when a young freshman was brought to the Florida State University campus by his sister and other family members and started where some of them sit today. And there were some of us who, though we don't look the age, but were there at the time to sort of pull him along and had no idea, well, we really did, that he'd end up as great and doing the kind of work that he's doing today. I say that because Joe is a graduate of Florida State University, and he is making us proud all over the county. And so in case you're wondering, well, can this ever happen for me? That's the living witness that yes, it can. And so if you're desiring to teach and you're good, we want you, don't we, Mr. Superintendent? That's right. That's right. Thank you, Joe. We're proud of the work that you do, and you have a wonderful staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, yeah, go ahead.
Burgess is on the
While they're sitting down, just briefly, another comment to the future teachers in our audience.